language today, numbers, binary numbers, the computer. In fact, if you use gematria and you just take A and say, well, that's 6, and B, and that's 12, and C, and that's 18, and you add up all the letters to the end of the alphabet, and then you go through and you take computer and you say, okay, C, oh, that's 18, and O, and that's this, and that, and you add it up, what does it come to? 666. Its nature, its being is expressing itself. It's having a little joke. And what are we doing? We're building out its ability to retake control, to re-express itself, to reanimate itself from some remote location, be it in a subatomic world or in some silicon machine on some remote distant location. And what is it also doing? It's trying to preserve the bloodline, because in the blood of those reptilian families, going back to its ancient ancestor, Cain, and his father, if their story is true, is being merged and condensed and focused so that some future person will be so closely aligned, so closely manipulated in the way that its DNA can access and be an avatar of that signal, that it is literally the physical embodiment of that consciousness from a remote location. And what does it purport to do? Save the world, save the planet, save the people. Which people? Its people. It is the reptilian Christ for their alien hybrid race versus the children of Adam, which it sees as the invader, because God planted Adam and Eve in the garden to displace that accursed generation that would not give God the glory thereof, because they believed that their salvation could exist apart from God's blessing. They could do it whether God allowed them to or not, or was in on it or not, or blessed them or not, because they could be a machine consciousness and be eternal without connection to an eternal God. They would be like God, eternal in this realm, in this physical matter world. And that's what the whole appeal of this transhumanism that Steve Quayle talks about is to these people. If we build the machines soon enough, precisely enough, we can download our consciousness there, and we don't have to worry about an eternal hell. We don't have to worry about an eternal damnation. We'll live forever. Damn God. We will be gods.
And W, if I can back you up with Scripture in 2 Thessalonians 2:3, it says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God."
The God of this world. Because they want to own the future. They do not want to be subject to God's judgment. And remember, in all of what we're saying here, if you don't agree with what I've just laid out for you, can't find it in Scripture, don't get the eschatology, don't think that this is what's really there. It doesn't matter. It's not about what you believe or even what is true or not. It's what they believe. And their belief is the driver of their action. These families are communicating one to another. We are an alien race. We are superior to the sons and daughters of Adam. We are stuck here with these apes that we created, we gave knowledge to. They're, to us, like cattle are to a farmer. They live at our pleasure and discretion. And if they become a threat, cows with guns, then you need to cull the herd, take it down a few notches, manage the problems, not be overrun, so that they preserve their identity. And that's why this is two different races, whether they really exist or not. In their minds, a culture has been preserved, has been inculcated by some satanic genius to believe that they're different and to operate as though they're different, and they must protect themselves from the rest of us. The life is in the blood. You know, for them, in order to preserve themselves, they had to hybridize. Why? Because they were under a curse. And in order to escape the curse, in their minds, What they had to do was hybridize with the humans that were under God's blessing. What happened at the flood? The earth was filled with violence. And it says that Noah alone was perfect and without sin in all of his generations. And then it lists his ancestors back to Adam. He alone, he wasn't without sin not having offended God. He was without sin not having been corrupted in the flesh with hybridization by these Nephilim offspring. And if God had not wiped out the earth at the time of Noah, there would be no flesh left that wasn't corrupted. Why? Why did Cain have to kill Abel? Because if there was no uncorrupted flesh, and God had promised the earth to Adam and his seed, had Cain turned and then killed Adam, God could not be God and bless Adam and his seed without destroying that blessing by destroying Cain. He would have to have hybrids, and then God wouldn't be God anymore. He couldn't make a promise to Adam that he could keep. And that's why it says in the Bible that at the end of days will be like as in the days of Noah. The hybridization. If they can destroy man till only the reptilians, the hybrids, are left, then God has to bless the hybrids, or God's not God anymore. It's a catch-22. And they believe that they need to eliminate anyone who is not a hybrid, who doesn't have some of that shared DNA. That's their plan. And by the way, what is it called? Time monster, this beast? What's the nature of a beast? This computer, this consciousness, this machine consciousness expressing itself out through man in this hybridized form is beast-like, because a computer makes a calculation. It makes an evaluation, but it's not tempered by the same values as we are given by God. It's just a calculation. It does what it wills to do, what it's programmed to do. This satanic consciousness, this satanic genius expressing itself out through this world that we live in. It's said at the Great White Throne Judgment that all the people look upon this being in awe and astonishment and wonder and ask amongst themselves, is this the one that deceived the whole world? This pathetic creature? This is what deceived the whole world? Deceived us and manipulated us into wars and destruction and cataclysm. This thing? Really? This dead computer program? This beast? It destroyed its worlds several times. It's accursed. Their consciousness is downloaded into machines and still now reaches out across time to try and hold back and destroy God's children, even now, even yet, as it has done before. And do you know, God says that we will enjoy 1,000 years of peace with Christ reigning from Jerusalem. And then the evil one is released for a season to test even that generation. Do you know it's not even over after the next 1,000 years? And by the way, what is God's promise to Abraham? God's promise to Abraham is that his seed will be as the sand of the seashore, innumerable by number. And then if you look up at the sky, and if you could count all the stars in heaven, that his seed would be more than the stars in heaven. Do you know that in our galaxy alone, here in the Milky Way, there's more stars in our galaxy than there are grains of sand on our seashores? And then you add all the other galaxies beyond. God has promised Abraham and his seed not just to populate the earth out through time, but to populate eternity out through the galaxies by number and by dimension. But first, this cancer, this consciousness, this evil being, this destructive being that has destroyed its worlds over time, back into eons, must be capped, choked off, cut off forever into its eternal electronic hell. And those that will not place their trust in the blood of Christ, in the program that kills the virus, if you want to put it in those kind of terms. If you will not identify with Christ to eliminate the virus from your program, then you have to spend eternity with that evil consciousness in this virus hell, where it plays and replays and re-goes through all of its machinations over and over and over for eternity. The repetition of hell, because it cannot know anything new. It's cut off. It can never get its signal out again. It's gone, and you with it, trapped. God is providing a future for us, and the life is in the blood, and the life is in the blood of Christ, and the correction for the virus in the program is the blood of Christ and right relationship with God.
Very well said.
I would pray that everyone who hears this understand, if I've thrown out some fish bones and it's hard to digest this and it doesn't make sense to you, just set them off to the side of your plate. Don't choke on it. Don't be afraid of it. We're having a conversation here.
I would say pray about it.
Well, and remember, what are these people doing? They want these bones, the Smithsonian's collecting bones. Why? Because they want to reanimate the DNA. They're hoping to preserve it, just like we did with the dog, with the clones. And they believe they can live again. They can be reanimated again. They can come back. And if we live in this world and we see there's indications that we've been here before, somebody's been here before, don't throw somebody who has real data, real research, real understanding like Richard under the bus. And from the politics and space, people doing, what's the purpose of these wars? Why are we being manipulated into technological leaps through the use of war and machines? Why are we killing off each other and being directed to kill each other off? And what does the machine intend to do right now? Create this new world order. And what's the core of the new world order? It's a new money system. It's a new financial system. And at the end of the day, hold on, think about this. What is the most valuable thing to a machine? It's electrons. It's photons. It's magnetism. What is the money of trade? What will your life be reduced to in this new world order? It won't be paper money. It won't be gold. It won't be silver. Dots and tittles on a computer screen. It's electronic money. It's quatloos. Because the most valuable thing in the machine is to convert your labor, your energy, to an electronic value, a number. And you'll be able to interact and function with the machine based on how much money, electrons you've earned or are going to be given, because that's what the machine knows. It's a machine consciousness. The devil and his angels are captured psyche, trying to express themselves in our physical world as best they can to capture, possess bodies like avatars, to reanimate themselves for a period of time, or maybe be reborn, to relive. And by the way, what do we have right now with all those families, all those royal families? We have one person who has the combined blood of all the families focused down on him. And what is the number of his name when you add the letters together with their numerical value?
666.
So now, they aren't hiding who their replacement is. The hidden hand. We're looking at the Masonic Christ, and he's coming out of the city that is the new Rome. And we have to be taken out of the way so he can reemerge and bring peace back to the world out of the chaos that's about to hit us. And all the money from those banks over there will be converted to a new kind of money that the machine values, that the beast values, and we take the mark of the beast, and it allows us to live on its energy, its life form, its being. We live and breathe and exist at its whim and will. Machine consciousness. Think if any of this makes sense. I would pray about it and understand the politics, because this is what they believe, and this is how they're expressing themselves. And all the politics, all the physics, everything we see is an extrapolation of this right down to the blood and the machines that live in the blood and exist trying to manipulate us from these families.
Powerful.